My most irrational fear is monkeys and apes. They absolutely terrify me. I can't even look at a picture of them most of the time.
Let's see, I can talk about things that are, possibly of interest to people that are interested in the ins and outs of the life of a, freelance cartoonist. But I need to, be non-specific because it's works in progress. I'm working on those interconnected covers for the Walking Dead color reprint edition, Walking Dead Deluxe, that I showed you some, I think a screenshot of or something. I can't remember if you saw the latest stage that it's at. I've been stuck on it
Yeah, it looks good.
for a while because of a whole variety of reasons, but at the heart of it is the fact that it turns out that I had more time on the schedule than I thought. And as will happen, having more time on the schedule simultaneously, does a variety of things. One of them is it allows me to take on other stuff and, stretch things out that way. And as it happens, the other stuff that I've been taking on isn't work per se. So I'm kind of, I should be earning money, but I don't know. My brain is like, oh, I don't have to turn this in for another however long. And I do other things. Then, as I'm doing other things, my brain maybe just gets sidelined, and then it becomes harder to get back into the illustration groove, which is a whole thing in itself. And I'm actually, you and I have talked about this before. I was speaking with Moritat, maybe, Justin Norman, recently. And I say maybe because I definitely was speaking with Justin, but I have a lot of conversations and I can't keep them straight because my brain doesn't work quite that well. But Moritat, I don't know if he was joking or not, but he was saying that he doesn't necessarily experience the sort of obsessive focus on a project that I myself and, our former studio partner, Brian Teese. Brian and I both experience what I think you're familiar with too, I think, which is when you're working on a project, it takes up all my attention in a way. I'm thinking about it even when I'm not working on it. It's almost like I become the artist, the person that, that becomes my primary identity. So if I let myself do other stuff, that's probably healthy. But then, it's almost like I need to shift back into the artist identity to get stuff done. And then what happened on the moment that I had when I was flowing with the work pretty well, things were, the covers are coming along. I've got all of the hard work is done, the layout, like pretty fully penciled by some standards. And it just needs to be finished, colored. I shifted gear and it's not flowing anymore. And now I'm overthinking every step and not being efficient. So then, a job that pays really well all of a sudden is, paying less and less the more I take time with it. So that's something that I'm going through. It's, I think pretty normal for cartoonists. And again, I don't know if Moritat was joking when he was saying that he doesn't really experience that. I think that he does experience that and he was probably just kidding around, but he is one of those artists that is capable of producing work really fast without stressing out over it, some of the times at least. So maybe he meant that he's capable of just being a professional and not getting too caught up in the process of, oh, it has to be just so. I know that I didn't hear this directly from him, but, John Romita Jr. was quoted as saying that if something isn't looking quite right, his philosophy is to just make it better next time, just move on and, get better as you go along. And John Romita Jr. is one of those people that's very productive. And, historically, there's, I think, less and less people that are capable of working in that sort of more professional, commercial artist mode. get 20 pages out. And, Sean Phillips, I think, is great at it. And Charlie Adler, obviously. But there's not a lot of people now that I think are capable of just moving forward without having to make an effort to polish the work up and make it just so. One of the things that I'm dealing with now is just trying to get out of my own way with the finishes on this project so that I can get the work done, deliver it, get paid, and not be obsessed with, making everything perfect every step of the way until the day before it's due, and, that whole thing, which can cause all kinds of problems, including neglecting the family and all of that.
And you don't need family.
Yeah, right. No, seriously, I mean, like the family thing, some people can make it work. Obviously, Charlie and Sean both have families and, seem to be doing quite a good job being parents and everything. And Kirby, of course, had a family and so on and so forth. A lot like traditionally cartoonists would have families, but I think that I remember Gene Colan being quoted in an interview about how much his family in the end suffered from him really being focused on doing all the work that he was doing. And not only he was producing a lot of work, he was producing more work than most cartoonists produce nowadays, maybe 40 pages a month or whatever. Gene Colan was one of those guys that just really gets into the work. He wasn't just at any point doing it in this kind of mechanical, phone-it-in way. He was finding ways to move forward, but he was excited about, okay, I'm going to look at this picture, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And it ends up taking up your whole day and your whole life before you know it. And Colan, like his first marriage, ended up in divorce. And then he was in a significant relationship. I don't know if he got married, but later in his life. But in an interview, he did talk about how that's a thing that affected him. So since you mentioned, like not having a family might be not a bad idea if you're going to be a cartoonist. It's almost like if you're going to be a spy, don't have a family.
Mr. and Mrs. James Bond.
First a boy and then a girl.
Well, it's like being a captain of a ship, you just...
Right.
Sea most of the time, the sea of your unconscious and your...
Oh, that's good. I like that.
And you might stop into a port every once in a while, have a date or something like that, see your friends or whatever, then you're, gotta go back to work, back on that ocean,
Yeah, that's actually, I love that analogy because, just like I read part of Moby Dick anyway, and
me too.
It just...
I'm halfway through it.
That whole idea of, like some of the sea captains were like married, but it was a different world. The wives of captains knew, or anybody that was a sailor like that knew that it's like, yep, he's going to be gone for maybe 2, maybe 3 years. Maybe he'll come back,
Well,
and
we're talking about Moby Dick. I gotta go get my copy of it and show you the cover because it's really cool.
Okay, let's see it.
But I'll be right back.
Okay, I'm going to entertain the folks here while you're gone. Come on, Scorpio. Come back with the cover. All right, he's going to edit all of this out anyway. It doesn't matter. He's probably going to keep the part with me going, I'm shaking my head, nodding back and forth. There we go. Moby Dick. All right. It's an early version of the Jaws poster, kind of, It's like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
do you know who did that?
This actually says on the back.
Cover painting by Richard Powers.
Born in Chicago, Illinois in 1921, Richard M. Powers studied Greek at Loyola University before switching to art, taking classes at the Frederick Meissen Academy of Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, and the University of Illinois at Chicago. During World War II, he enlisted in the Army and studied art at the University of Kentucky during basic training. Soon after, he joined the Army Signal Corps in New York City. He married and began a career in illustration for magazines and publishing houses, continuing his art education at the New School in New York. In the 1950s and 60s, he painted more paperback covers than any other illustrator, over 800 science fiction paintings, all the covers for the Dell Classics line, and even comic book covers for Gold Key, such as Dr. Solar, Man of the Atom. Powers died in 1996, but he became one of the most influential science fiction and fantasy artists of all time. In 2008, he was inducted into the Science Fiction Hall of Fame, and in 2016, he made it into the Society of Illustrators Hall of Fame.
We have witnessed the cover. We have seen it.
Yeah, I've been reading this particular copy about 20 years. I'm on page 354 out of 600.
Do you think you're still reading it, or do you think it's just a lost
I just
cause?
got sidetracked here. No, it's.
I
mean,
think
it's so old that
yeah.
I have a Borders bookmark, and Borders is no longer around.
Well, there's lots of stuff that's no longer around that we still have little, remnants of. I mean, I am perching my phone on a FedEx box, and I hardly ever use FedEx anymore. It's definitely something that is getting to be almost like a typewriter. I know FedEx still exists, but for artists, it used to be essential.
It is for me. I use it for copies.
Good. But I'm talking about like the shipping service as far as sending art out,
But I mean, I think it's still. I'm there all the time making copies.
I think you're
prints and things like that, and using using the paper cutter because it's better than any paper cutter that I could have.
No, that's good. I mean, it's definitely, my wife uses FedEx for printing jobs, for her work. I think that for a cartoonist, it used to be essential to have access to both a Kinko's and a FedEx office, which back in the day were not the same place, because very few people could afford to have a printer copier in their own home, and shipping, you still would have had to rely on FedEx or something when you couldn't send digital files. And now there's still, obviously FedEx Kinko still has a role in society, and even for cartoonists, but it's just not, it's like crow quills. People still use crow quills, right? They still exist. People still use them, but it's not something that is as common of a tool as it used to be. If you're a draftsman right now, I mean, I made an ass of myself on a job that I did for Microsoft when the art director asked me what tools I use. And I started talking about, brush pens, and he sent me a list of the tools that he uses, and I didn't recognize a single one of them because they're all programs and stuff, So, yeah, anyway, Borders. R.I.P. Borders. You no longer exist. I just want to comment on your look today. There's something about it. I don't know if it's lighting or what, but it looks really cool. You look kind of like a Jack Kirby character or something. And I keep wanting to ink you, just like I feel like I should get my tablet out and just start inking Scorpio's head today, especially when you lean in. You're really red. Yeah, exactly. Just very red.
So red.
And that adds visual interest, And
lips. I don't even have lipstick on.
Okay, that's good to know. Are you going to kiss a screen? What are you doing there?
I'm just showing my lips.
Yes, your lips are you're not wearing lipstick. Let it be known. Do they look like that in real life, or is it just a screen that makes them look?
Generally, I have pretty ruby red lips.
Pretty red lips. And what about the red eyes? Are you tired today? Because I don't remember seeing your eyes kind of reddish like that before.
I think one is the lighting. I normally have dark circles under my eyes. I'm also not wearing my glasses.
That's actually great. I like that. Maybe it's good that you're not wearing your glasses. Okay, entertain this video screen for a minute. I'm going to get to my iPad. So welcome back. Are you actually moving like the avatar is moving, or is the avatar just doing its own bobblehead thing?
I'm doing that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We're comic book people. We're not supposed to be pretty.
I don't know. It's still nice.
There's a few lucky ones.
I'm
Marvel's junk of the month. I'm not hunk of the month.
Today you look like a junkie, but I think you also you work out. I mean, for a man your age, you're hunky. You like you're in good shape. I'm in good shape for a man my age too, compared to the standard in 1960 Italy, where I'd be just sitting around drinking wine, and all that stuff.
I try to just tell myself, I'm in better shape at my age than, say, Cary Grant would have been.
Really? Wow. I hadn't even thought about that. Cary Grant. Wow. That's a high bar. Seriously. Like, I mean, I would have gone with, somebody that died. But,
Wearing my Hawaii Five-0 shirt.
Book on Dano?
Welcome, Dano.
Why is that a Hawaii Five-0 shirt? I'm not familiar with the show enough to get the reference.
Because...
Book Dano. Book Dano. Book Dano.
Oh. Book Dano. I get it. So it's a phrase from a show, and I think it was the 1960s version of Hawaii Five-0 or whatever that was, the original.
This is the shirt's probably... Barry got this for me in Hawaii 2016. So it's for the new show, but I like the old show. I like the old show a lot. Okay.
I don't think I've seen more than half an episode of that. Just
they're really good, and they can be pretty downbeat considering the time it came out. And
okay, that can be a plus.
When the case is solved at the end, sometimes it's just boom, it's over.
Okay.
It's just this hard cut. Oh, it's over.
Anyway.
I like it when you walk around with your phone or your computer or whatever you've got there that's filming you. You look like that style of filming from the John Frankenheimer movie Seconds. It was a fairly early use of the body-mounted camera. Scorsese used it in Mean Streets for a scene with drunk Harvey Keitel.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Then it was used in Truck Turner, an Isaac Hayes movie.
Okay.
Darren Aronofsky used it in a couple of his films, Pi and Requiem for a Dream. Pi's producer told Aronofsky about a camera rig invented for a 1996 music video by two Icelandic photographer directors, Einar and Eithir Snorri. They aren't related, but they're known as the Snorri brothers. Now the general term for a body-mounted camera is the Snorricam.
Oh, interesting.
And there were even a few examples before Seconds in 1966. The first use of a body-mounted camera was in Kula Vampa, a 1932 film by Zlatan Dudov.
Oh, interesting.
Jean Renoir used a body-mounted camera in 1946's A Day in the Country. Satyajit Ray used it in 1964 in Charulata.
So there it is.
The end.
So is that... that's Maya behind you, right?
No, that's Kali.
Oh, that's Kali. Ah.
घन घन खनन गर गर जरे चम चम चमक उठी दामिनी लिए खड़ग बाण गदा धनुष प्रकटि अनंत कपालनि विकराल काल की सर्पनी काजल बरन रक्ति मनय गल मुंड माला धारणी काली काल की यामनि दल असुर दल बल शुंभ शुंभ निशुंभ भारत धर पछाड़ भूमि पे कर भुवन त्रिभुवन जयति जय जय जयति जय जय जयति जय विनाशन तन मन जरे तांडव करे भद्राणी दुष्ट विधारणी काली
Wow. I Wow. So tell me a little bit about Kali. What is Kali's place in the, I don't know if you give it in as a pantheon or just the structure of the Indian religion or belief system or philosophy, whatever it is that Kali belongs in?
Well, going back to my wall hanging, you asked if it was a picture of Maya, and I said no, but actually you're right, ultimately, in that Maya is a Sanskrit term for the illusory and impermanent nature of the universe, and that we are somehow separate from the universe. Maya is personified as Mahamaya, Maha meaning great. So she is the great illusion. I can't continue explaining in my regular voice. It just annoys me. So I'm going to switch to an impression of my college art history professor. All right, here we go. Through Brahma, she creates the universe. She is the universe. And she's also the cosmic dream of Vishnu. She's what binds us to worldly existence, but she's also our liberation. She's also known as the Mahadevi, the great goddess. She is Shakti, the ultimate creative, dynamic, and feminine power pervading all existence. And she takes a multiplicity of forms, such as Lakshmi, goddess of wealth and prosperity. She is Vishnu's lovely consort. And then there's Parvati, a gentle goddess of love, beauty, motherhood, and fertility. She is Shiva's consort and Shakti. Without her, he would have no power. He would be incomplete. Durga is a fierce protector, a warrior goddess who vanquishes evil and restores the cosmic order. And Kali, she is the primal force of time itself, as well as transformation, including death and destruction. The general explanation of the iconography of Kali, standing upon the corpse-like figure of Shiva, is that he represents Brahman, ultimate reality without form or change. He appears dead because without the activating energy of Shakti, he can't do anything. He's only dormant potential until Maya, Shakti, the goddess, brings him to life. He is white to represent purity, as well as being smeared with the ashes of cremated people. In this painting of Kali and Shiva in a cremation ground, there are two Shivas. The bottom one represents this formless, changeless nature of Brahman, separated from the energizing Shakti of Kali's foot and thigh, whereas the upper Shiva is in touch with Shakti and is being stirred to wakefulness. Oh, how he is stirred! She is the incarnation of his own essence as the destroyer of the universe at the end of a cosmic cycle, so that it may be reborn. She is change itself. They form an inseparable pair, merged, a marvelous two-in-one. The first major appearance of Kali in Hindu literature was in the Devi Mahatmyam, the greatness of the goddess. It is the oldest known composition about Devi, the goddess, being the supreme truth and the creator of the universe. This book was written in the 6th century and was eventually incorporated into the body of the Markandeya Purana, an even older book, composed in the 3rd century. It's a key text in the Shaktism tradition that especially reveres the divine feminine. In a forthcoming episode of Shaddoom, we shall present you with an audiovisual adaptation of this first recorded Kali story. Stay tuned.
About 15 years ago, I was driving back to my van home from the city, and I had a kind of experience of space-time displacement where I basically felt like I was simultaneously on the highway that I was on and at home where I was going to be in about 25 minutes. I was left with this impression after this brief kind of flash of feeling like I was experiencing my life from a different perspective of time or something. I thought, time might have more of a one dimension. It might be possible to just step out of time and see a plane or space with time in it. And I checked with a friend of mine, Andrea Plazzi in Italy, who is a comics guy, but also has a degree in math and worked as a mathematician. And he said, well, you could just be crazy, but, it is a theory that, some people are exploring. And I was like, cool. It's kind of nice, to just see this again. It's like, okay. And it sparked a desire in me to sort of visualize this extra-dimensional aspect of our existence. It's been a part of my life since then, just as an interest to pursue. I'm not an expert on three-dimensional time, but I still like to talk about it and think about it.
I mean, I like it like a car. Like, I know how to use my time. I don't know how it works.
Yeah. But hey, Howard Chaykin, he pointed us in that direction with Times Square, so.
He just put out the third part of that. I need to get it.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah,
wow.
Image. It came out through Image, I think, but it came out, hardcover collection where it came with parts 1 and 2.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I think King did the same thing from Fantagraphics, where they came out with the first and second volume of Martin Luther King biography, and then it took a while to come up with a third volume, and by the time they did, they just put it out as a single book, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, most people don't have the first and second volume, and sure, it would have been nice to give a discount on the collected edition so you can read the last chapter, but it would have been a little silly to put out volume 3,
And I just bought 1 and 2 during the first year of COVID.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty new to me. Really?
Yeah. Okay, so I haven't read, and I think I only read the first volume of Times Squared, and I haven't read it since it came out. My recollection of it is that it was not as trippy as I expected from the title. I thought that, he was going to delve into the idea of, the mathematical symbol squared instead of a word square. And I have this big memory of feeling at the time like he really was just telling a story about people, around 42nd Street and all that jazz. Do you remember whether it was, did it explore stuff that had to do with the nature of time in an overt way?
Not that I really remember. Like you said, it's all that jazz. It's about jazz.
But I'd need to read it again.
Yeah, that's kind of a problem with stories. With a painting, if you've looked at a painting and you remember it, you may miss a lot of details, but you're going to have a sense of what the painting was. But with books and comics, except for, again, the art, the title, a specific character, I mean, even American Flag, which I've read repeatedly, I would be hard-pressed to just tell you, wait, what was it about exactly? Who were the characters? What is the plot? It's harder to retain that, which I guess is one of the strengths of comics. You've got images that can help you put pieces together while you're reading it, presumably also when you're recalling it. But I guess art is important.